has a deep sense of passion about the law and about justice. And I've had a very sort of meandering career that led me to this point. But I like to think big. When I finished college, I spent 2 years as a deputy sheriff working in a prison in Massachusetts. And at that time saw how crazy the justice system was, and dealt with a lot of different issues that really framed up my perspective in life. I mean, my car was stolen and destroyed in an escape attempt. I remember there was one guy who was trying to find a kosher meal. You can imagine, this is like 1979 in Massachusetts. I set up a drug treatment program, and I've been very interested in the justice system since then. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to law school at Harvard, come back and be a law clerk in the Federal District Court in the Southern District, and I had a great career in practicing law. But I was always drawn back to my sense of public interest work and justice work. So I started doing more and more public interest representation of people. Particularly, I got engaged with community groups during the crack epidemic, trying to help people who were trying to deal with this problem. And what Ellie said, and he's a man of good judgment, I think. I'm honored to have his support, certainly, and I work very hard to see that I never disappoint you. I do have sensitivity to, I listen to people. This is something that is, for all of the great things about our great political leaders, the ability to listen and to go listen to people who have an alternative point of view is very important. I was talking to a friend here who is in the NRA, and I have issues that I've worked very hard because I'm from the city. I grew up in the city when, during the crack epidemic, kids were getting shot down in the street all the time. So I've always been involved, and I'm closely involved with Mayor Bloomberg's effort to do something about illegal guns. But once I took over the Codes Committee in the Senate, I realized that I had a communication issue with these folks. So I actually traveled upstate to meet with all of the gun clubs and sportsmen and go shooting with them and meet these guys who just have a very different perspective from me. They like to dress up in buckskins like Davy Crockett, and they have a muzzle loader with black powder and a ball, and they go out in the middle of the winter to try to hit a deer with this thing. See, that's fine. Where I come from, this is not our idea of a good time on a Sunday. But if you want to do it, wonderful. Just don't tell us we can't try and do something to get semi-automatic handguns out of the hands of criminals. So I do listen, and I do go to places. I don't believe in just talking on the phone. I like to go. And Ellie was kind enough to host me out at his amazing offices, and I think I have a stronger sense of the right way to run home care after having spent time with you, and I thank you very much for that. And talking with people here, and there are so many issues that the New York State Attorney General's office deals with. I've spent my career doing public interest legal work. When I went to the Senate, I continued those efforts and have been very focused on justice issues, getting people representation, distribution of funding for education, things like that. And I understand, I listen to people. I understand that our non-public schools have 15% of the students in the state and 1% of the state funding. I understand the issues related to TAP and CAP and how we have to be very careful in a time of economic stress not to hurt parts of the system that are fundamental to our survival in the state, fundamental to our progress and our growth. I'm a big believer in education and the opportunity for a good education for all of our children. And that's something that I look forward to working with you, and whatever criticisms there may be about Jewish communities, there's no group in the history of the world with more of a commitment to education. And this is something that I carry with me wherever I go. And my history in the Senate was a history of a reformer. I don't accept the status quo. I'm always interested in asking the question, is there a better way to do this? And I have just enjoyed my work tremendously. I look forward to doing more of it. But New York State Attorney General, for me, is the job that enables me to do my lawyering work, because I was a very successful trial lawyer, enables me to do my public policy work, and enables me to deal with the issues related to justice that have animated my whole life. I'm very interested in working on issues related to the nonprofit sector, which in New York is a huge part of the economy. The Attorney General's office, and I hear this everywhere I campaign, being a candidate for statewide office, is like you're a walking focus group. People just come up to you and tell you everything that's on their mind, sometimes very personal things you'd rather not know. But it's a wonderful experience, and everyone understands that the Charities Bureau of the Attorney General's office has to be reformulated as something that is to help the nonprofit sector, not just a cop on the beat. And I've got some interesting ideas that I picked up from some of the folks in this room on that front. I know that I'm very interested in equal justice and civil rights, and there's an area of civil rights that the New York State Attorney General has really not gone after, which is discrimination based on religious beliefs. So I'm going to follow the example of the Federal Justice Department have an Office of Religious Rights in the Civil Rights Bureau, because discrimination against Sabbath observers and others and as our population becomes more diverse in New York State, these are issues that come up. So these are the kinds of things I learn about, and I come up with ideas just from talking to people and listening to people, more importantly. And I look forward to being an Attorney General who is second to none in my pursuit of justice and my work to help people who are trying to help our state. There are a lot of people who are just out for themselves and don't have the sense of community that you all have. People who are committed to helping our communities grow, people who are committed to educating our children, you should never, ever doubt that the Attorney General is your lawyer. And once I'm the Attorney General, I intend to make that the case and work for that every single day. Thank you very much for coming out, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you as we go forward.